Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today we're going to be talking about the case of Kyle Clinkscales. We have actually talked about this case before on this channel, but it was a really old video and I would just want to do a new improved version. And we've also got more information on the case than we did before. Some new information has come up and information that I didn't find before. You do need to go back and rewatch it though because it's all in this video, so that's alright. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe down below for more. Kyle Clinkscales was 22 years old and lived in Auburn, Alabama, where he attended Auburn University as a junior. He worked part-time as a bartender at the Moose Club in his hometown, a couple of minutes away from his parents' home in LaGrange, Georgia. He was described by his friend as a sweet guy who was kind to everyone. His personality was just charming, and most of the time he was quiet. He was well liked by his classmates and teachers and never caused any problems. His manager told investigators he was extremely nice and very intelligent. He got along well with everyone and went out of his way to be nice to people. He had a great relationship with his parents and was an active member of First Baptist Church in LaGrange. Kyle was a skilled athlete and earned varsity letters in basketball and baseball. He had two cats, Queenie and Aisha. He was devoted to his cats, always making sure to take care of them. At around 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 27th of January, 1976, Kyle left the Moose Club, planning to make the long drive around 35 to 40 miles back to his apartment. His manager saw him unlock his 1974 Ford Pinto and get inside. This would be the last time Kyle was seen alive. Kyle and his roommate had different schedules, so it was common for the two to go days without seeing each other. Because of this, his roommate had no idea that Kyle hadn't been back at all. Kyle's parents, John and Louise, became slightly worried when they hadn't heard from him for a few days, but assumed he was just busy with classes. When Kyle left to go to work that Tuesday night from his parents' home, he told his mum he would stop by the house before his bartending shift on Friday night to pick up some clothes she cleaned for him. When he didn't show up, his father called the Moose Club to see if Kyle had made it to work, and was told he had the night off. Although it was out of character for Kyle to take time off work, John recalled he had mentioned going to Gainesville, Florida for a basketball game, and assumed he would contact them soon. He was apparently scheduled for work at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, so Kyle's mom waited expecting to hear his car pull up outside, but he didn't arrive. So she decided to call the Moose Club to check he arrived, but became distressed when they said Kyle hadn't shown up for his scheduled shift. It was the first time Kyle had ever missed work without calling ahead of time. Panic set in and Kyle's mother realized no one had spoken to or seen Kyle since that Tuesday night. At this point, he had been missing for a week and no one had known. Kyle's dad, John, decided to call the LaGrange Police Department and report his son as missing. Sources say, after speaking with the manager of the Moose Club, investigators learned that Kyle hadn't been in a great mood when he left for work on that Tuesday night. Although he normally got along well with all of his customers, that night he had to deal with a particularly obnoxious customer, a man, and had been annoyed about it. Supposedly, his manager told investigators that he believed Kyle might have had a couple of drinks after the man left, but didn't appear to have been intoxicated. After learning this, detectives took it into account that he may have gotten into an accident on his way back home. State police in Alabama and Georgia spent hours driving along every possible route they thought Kyle might have taken that night, but unfortunately found no signs of a car driving off the road. They determined that no matter which route Kyle took from LaGrange to Auburn, he would only have passed one body of water, the Chattahoochee River. But at the time he went missing, the river was only ankle deep, eliminating the possibility that he might have driven into the water and drowned. Investigators excavated the area anyway, but found nothing. For a while, investigators believed that he left on his own accord. They hadn't found anything to suggest that foul play had taken place, so really it was the only other option they came up with. suggesting that he would come back when he was ready. At the time, he wasn't doing so well at college. His friends believed he hadn't really wanted to go to college, but went anyway because his parents expected him to get a degree. He had enrolled in Auburn University right after he graduated from high school, but hadn't done too well, so he transferred to LaGrange College, but hadn't done much better there and ended up dropping out. He then returned to Auburn University of fall 1976 and changed his major from education to business administration. Though his fall semester grades hadn't been great, he told his parents he was determined to do better when he returned for the spring semester. Kyle's parents told investigators that there was no way Kyle would have voluntarily left without telling anyone, but investigators were unconvinced. His parents told them that if Kyle wanted to drop out of college, they would have supported his decision, but were certain he wouldn't have just run away. Nothing out of the ordinary was found in his apartment to suggest he moved or ran away. Nothing was missing, it looked like normal. In fact, the day before he went missing, he bought groceries, pictures, and a potted plant. Not to mention his 2 cats at home, Queenie and Aisha. He was devoted to them, and if he voluntarily left, he would have taken his cats. He had also signed up to play Summer Softball League, and told his friends he was looking forward to it. He was also apparently excited about an upcoming Valentine's Day dance, and had already gotten a date for it. He clearly hadn't shown any indication of running away. Officials with LaGrange Police Department admitted they were baffled by the case. Although no evidence of foul play had been found, Kyle did not at all appear to be the type of person who would run away or leave without warning. Soon enough, they had appealed to the public for help in locating Kyle's white, 2-door 1974 Ford Pinto runabout with a Georgia license plate number CEF 717. Months went by without any sightings, and detectives were at a loss of what to do next. Kyle was the type who wouldn't hesitate to pick up a hitchhiker. Friends worried he may have stopped for the wrong person, and authorities were unsure if he had left the area at all, or left voluntarily. They pointed out that he may have been killed for his car, but despite listing it as stolen in national databases, the car and Kyle's location remained a mystery. Months went by with no evidence and no leads, and no sign. The case stalled and eventually went cold. Investigators gave up on actively looking for Kyle. But his parents would persevere. They would not give up the search, or give up their hope. They put out numerous newspaper ads asking for help, to no avail. They soon offered a cash reward for information leading to his whereabouts, but unfortunately this would lead them to more dead ends, and open them up to many calls of false hope. They also belonged to a camping club, called Troop Travelers, and appealed to the club members for help. They made bumper stickers that read, quote, "What happened to Carl Clinkscales driving a 1974 Pinto? Murdered, amnesia," and included a phone number to call tips. They then mailed the stickers out to members of the Troop Travelers and the National Campers and Hikers Association, and asked people to stick them on prominent places on the vehicle. Soon, thousands of cars, campers, and RVs were displaying Kyle's bumper sticker. More tips were being called in from people all over the country, reporting they had seen someone who fit Kyle's description. Kyle's dad, John, followed up on all the tips he received, desperate to find his son. In 1981, a man came forward and told the family he believed he was Kyle, having lost his memory in a car accident, but this was later proved to be false. Although in a way Kyle's dad wished Kyle had just run away, and hoped he would come back, he knew in his heart this wasn't the case. As the years would go by with no word from his son, he started to believe Kyle was likely dead. But in the hopes he might be out there, he continued to follow up on each lead he received. But unfortunately, none of them led to Kyle. Kyle's case remained cold until 1987, when investigators got their first potential break in the case, when a Troup County man, walking his dog, found an excellent credit card belonging to Kyle near Flat Shoal Creek, which was located around 10 miles from the Grange. Strangely, despite the passage of time, the credit card was in pristine condition. Confused by the condition it had been found, detectives theorized it had likely been buried not long before it was found. Detectives also noted it had expired 3 years before Kyle went missing, in 1973. His parents recalled his wallet had been stolen while he was attending the Grange College, and the card may have been in his wallet at the time. But Kyle often forgot to get rid of things like this, so it could have been on him when he went missing. Investigators conducted a large-scale search in the area his card was found. Not only this, but they apparently also recruited county prison inmates to help dig along the Sandy Creek bank. While the Georgia State Police dispatched a helicopter crew to search the length of the creek, they found nothing to indicate Kyle's body may have been buried in the area. So after the failed search, the investigation went cold once more. On the 20th anniversary of Kyle's disappearance in 1996, a local newspaper published an article about Kyle, and several new tips were called in to investigators. They followed up and found car parts they believed might have belonged to Kyle's car. Another tip sent them to Stovall Lake after someone called anonymously and claimed Kyle had been killed and his body dumped into this lake. Located on private property, they used metal detectors and cadaver dogs to search the lake bed, though unfortunately Kyle was not found. Although detectives refused to name any suspects, they told reporters that if they did find Kyle's body, they were prepared to charge more than one person with his murder. Ray Hyde, who owned a local junkyard, then came forward and told reporters he was the prime suspect. There have been several rumors over the years implicating Ray played a role in Kyle's death, but he insisted he had nothing to do with the disappearance. Ray's home and junkyard was just a mile away from Stovall Lake, and while they searched the lake, the Troup County Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant on his property. All the while, Ray continued to proclaim his innocence, telling reporters police had no evidence against him, explaining he would never be stupid enough to dispose of a body in Stovall Lake, going on to say he'd dump it off the Georgia coast, weighted down with a couple of electrical transformers where the sharks could eat it. Then Ray's confidence only grew further when detectives admitted they had not found anything connecting Ray to Kyle's disappearance. They still believed Ray had done something to Kyle, but weren't able to prove it, and the case went cold yet again. Nearly a decade later, in 2005, Kyle's parents got a call from a man who said he had been 7 years old at the time Kyle went missing, and recalled that he witnessed his grandfather taking part in the disposal of Kyle's body. He claimed that Kyle's body had been placed in a barrel, covered with concrete and dumped in a pond. Investigators did a search of the pond and drained it, looking for the barrel or Kyle's body, but were unable to find anything other than a 3-foot dip where his body or a barrel could have been moved from, and a metal detector reacted to that specific spot, indicating something metal that fit the description perfectly had been sat there. Former Troup County Sheriff Donnie Turner said, quote, "I have no doubt in my mind he was killed." Investigators called a relative thought to be involved in the killing and accused him of this, asking him what he knows. Supposedly, he was 16 at the time of Kyle's disappearance. He said he was working on a car under a tree at Hyde's house when he heard a gunshot. When he looked up, he saw a man on the ground. He said he ran into the house and called his grandparents to come get him, and someone had been shot. He claimed he then saw Ray Hyde and Jimmy L. Jones each take one of Kyle's arms and drag him into the shop. He said his grandmother told them not to shoot that boy again, and they left. By this time, Ray had been dead for several years. They said that he denied knowing anything when he was questioned earlier on. The 7-year-old and 16-year-old were cousins, and both their stories lined up. At some point, Ray had Kyle's body removed from the lake and put in his car. Unsure where he had been keeping the car, he said they smashed the top with a backhoe and moved it, but they didn't know where he moved it to either. Ray had apparently sold that same backhoe, and after the fact went back and told the man he sold it to that he wanted it back, apparently saying, quote, "I've got to get that Clinkscales blood off the backhoe." In 2005, Jones, who was then 63, was charged with concealing the death of Kyle, hindering the apprehension of a criminal, and 2 counts of giving false statements and concealment of facts. Donnie Turner said Jones acknowledged helping move Clinkscales' body shortly after his death. In May 2006, Jones pleaded guilty in Georgia to giving false information to officers, and during his plea testified to what really happened to Kyle on that night in 1976. He claims he left to get beer, and when he got back, Kyle had arrived. They argued and Kyle went back to the car. When he came back, Hyde shot him. He was apparently waiting for Kyle to bring him some money. Jones said Clinkscales turned up and he had his back to him and Hyde. He then heard 2 shots, and when he turned around, he was in shock and helped Hyde carry him into the shop. Apparently Kyle owed money to someone named Ralph Matthews, and before he could go get the money, he and Hyde got into an argument, where Hyde then shot Kyle. After they moved his body, Hyde removed a bag presumed to be money from Kyle's car. Over the years, Jones told so many stories, nobody knew what the truth really was. Jones had been jailed for 2 years, awaiting trial, when they had held a sentencing hearing in August 2007. Kyle's mother described his death as, quote, "the tragic murder of my bright young son." She went on to say, quote, "Jones has been incarcerated for a little over 2 years. However, we have been serving a 31-year sentence in our own private torment." She said, quote, "Even though nothing will bring back my son, or restore the 31+ years we have spent looking for him, please sentence Jimmy Jones to the maximum allowable sentence." She also added, quote, "I thank you for taking the time to read this heartfelt plea of a mother that lost her only child and was denied 31 years of marital bliss and togetherness with a man and son she loved more than life itself." The judge said he could not be punished for the murder because there was no real evidence. He said, quote, "So in a sense, I suppose you didn't create the wounds that Mrs. Clinkscales and Mr. Clinkscales, when he was alive, have endured all these years. But there is no question that you have poured salt into those wounds." Jones was sentenced to prison and incarcerated from September 2007 until January 2013, 6 years. A woman named Jeannie Pork Johnson was also convicted of concealing a death, making false statements, and hindering the apprehension of a criminal. Neither was convicted of murder because it was believed Ray Hyde had killed him. Ray Hyde died in 2001, never revealing what he may have done or what he might have known. They are unsure why Ray might have killed him, but thought that Kyle might have known something of Hyde's criminal doings, or he may have double-crossed Hyde in a drug deal. Or lastly, a theory of my own would be Kyle saw or overheard something he shouldn't. Ray found out he knew and threatened to kill him or his family if he didn't give him a certain amount of money in a certain time. Following Kyle showing up, they argued since Kyle didn't have enough in time, hence why the bag of money was left in the car, and Ray got angry and shot Kyle, knowing this would bring police around. So when he didn't have the money to give to another person, which would be Ralph Matthews, he would not be killed because there was no opportunity giving him enough time to get the money he needed. But that's really just a theory. There could be a lot more to that, a lot of different reasons, and it might not be right at all. But that's just a theory I came up with from all the details in this case. John Clinkscales died in 2007, and Louise Clinkscales died in January 2021. Just 11 months later, December 7, 2021, Kyle's 1974 Ford Pinto was found, along with his remains, after an anonymous caller saw the hatchback of the car sticking out of an unnamed creek in Cassetta, Alabama. The car was removed later that day, identified as Kyle's through the VIN number and license plate. Inside the vehicle they found his wallet and credit cards, followed by human remains that were identified and confirmed to be Kyle's through DNA testing in 2023 February. His cause of death has yet to be determined, and authorities are still actively working to determine how Kyle died. If this information is ever found out, I will write it in the description of this video, but as of the moment, it has not been discovered yet. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe down below for more.